guys. Welcome to the Melanated Way. I'm Linda Entry, co-hosting with April Holloway from Holloway Legal and Travel and all the things. It's Monday. I can't believe the week went by so quickly. I know a lot of you reached out to me, and I really appreciate it. I know I took the week off, and you guys are like, where is she? Where are the shows? What's happening? All the things. Those of you guys that are part of my Patreon, you guys already know. For those of you guys that are not, that week of April is always like a hard week for April and April. That's the week of April. Second week of April is always hard because my dad passed that week. And as most of you know, my sister passed a few weeks after. So it's a very difficult week. And I decided to choose my mental health and take the week off to deal with all the things. But we are back and, pushing through and living life. And all I have to say is, squeeze tight and tell the people that you love them on a regular basis, because tomorrow is not promised. And, take time out for your mental health. It's okay to be like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this today, or I'm relaxing or whatever. April!
Yes.
Hello! Welcome back to the United States of America.
I'm back in my crappy apartment. No, I love it here. I love being in DC. I'm glad to be back in the area. I did enjoy being away, and I did enjoy San Francisco, but I'm back to be back in the rivers and lakes that I'm used to.
Right. And you know what? I do have to say that, just speaking of travel and all of that, when we get to Jen and Rishi and Jen's friends, Randy and what's her name? Randy and Myra, I'm going to have a lot of things to say, you guys. I'm already like emotional. So I might go off, I might not go off, but you guys know when I go on a tangent, it's for a reason. But this whole American travel business, I think, April, you and I need to start like a travel business on etiquette, because the two of them were making me so angry. And it's like this, all the stuff that I always say, boom, right there in my face this episode.
Yeah, I agree.
But that being said, shout out to the live chat. Welcome, everybody. Bottom of your screen, I'll keep on the bottom of the screen where you can support the show for a little bit. Overall thoughts, April, of this episode?
Overall thoughts. Let me tell you the funniest thing. All of the negative stuff that Jen's friends were saying, did you see how they were killing that food? Whatever restaurant that was that Rishi took them to, I want to go there.
They loved it. They loved it so much that they were chewing while they were talking, but meanwhile having an attitude where they were, stop it. Stop it. Renee says, I think these two were some of the worst friends in the 90 Day Fiancé franchise. That part, Renee, that part. So let's jump in. We're going to jump in with Usama and Debbie. I love Debbie. I just love her. I don't know, something about the way she talks, April. It's like very Renaissance for me.
She's so charismatic.
Oh, you got it! This is a surprise. You bought the fan. Oh my God. Stop it.
So when I use this, what I'll have to do is, I am Southern, but sometimes it's hard for me to get back into it. Let me sing. Well, Big Papa told me I couldn't go outside today, but I still decided to go outside, and it was so hot, I almost melted like a sugar cube.
I'm dead right now. You got the fan. Everyone, if you've missed some other episodes or after show, that fan was a big topic, right? Ty's Ways laughing. That fan was a big topic. We found it on Etsy, and April got the fan. That's it.
You're gonna see me using it all the time.
I feel like we need to end the show right here, right now, just with the fan. That's it. Oh my God, that's beautiful. Okay, that was a surprise. She didn't share that with me, y'all, so definitely like surprised as well, just with the rest of you guys. So Season 4, episode 11, The Tongue Has No Bone Facts. My overall thoughts were I was happy to get a break from Nicole and Mahmoud. And Debbie is still definitely my favorite. Had questions about Jen and Rishi and her friends because I think her friends are trash. Chris and Jamie, I called it. I hope Jamie comes in our live chat today because I would love to have a few questions for her. And then Gabe and Isabel, you know, they just brought love and joy. So those were my overall thoughts. Vanessa says, April, you might be my favorite co-host yet.
Darling, you're my favorite viewer yet.
Oh my god. Okay, we are going to not get through this quickly. Okay. So Usama and Debbie. Okay. So they're headed to Kinset to meet his family. What I thought was funny is that I didn't know originally that they hired a car service, right? So when he was packing all the stuff in the front seat, I was like, is Debbie gonna ride in the back like a passenger?
Mm-hmm.
That was my first thought, but then he got in the back too. I was like, oh, okay. Debbie's really concerned about meeting the parents. She's really concerned about her age all of a sudden, which I thought was a little weird, April, because like you've been there a few times before. Age wasn't an issue for you. You clearly had a good time. You went on the camel ride, all the things. He professed last week his love to you, did a whole poem, the whole thing. So like now why are you now having like second thoughts? But whatever. So she is nervous to meet his parents because of her age. And she's worried that they're going to think that she's a terrible American trying to steal their son. And he's like, no, because the light from your face makes everyone love you. I was like, see, this is why I love their segments. Why I love their segments.
Yeah, he definitely sucked us in. But
Now
she had. Oh, yeah, this is true.
Natatat says, why did she come empty-handed to the parents' house? Rude American. That part, Natatat. Listen, y'all, this is basic etiquette 101. Doesn't matter parents' house, friend's house, neighbor's house, whatever. The first time you're going there, you never come empty-handed. As an African, as a Canadian, it
I
messes
don't.
with my sensibilities. Like my mom would just be like, there's no way.
I'm not even sure that this is a un-American thing because if somebody invited me to their house for like Thanksgiving or something, I bring a plant, a bottle of wine, you know?
What if it wasn't an event? It was just like, hey, come over to the house.
If it was just come over to the house, no, I wouldn't bring anything.
For the first time?
If I'm meeting like your parents for the first time, I would.
So if I said, hey, April, come over to LA, come visit me for the first time, and you came to my house, you'd come empty handed?
No, I wouldn't.
That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't. But that part is definitely not an American thing.
Okay.
That would just be because I did it. But if I was going to meet somebody's parents for the first time, I would definitely. The last time I had a boyfriend and I went to go meet his parents, I brought a poinsettia and cookies.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys this. I'm gonna give you some Canadian / Guinean basic etiquette 101. Okay. If you want to be adored and loved by everyone and anyone you meet, when you go to their home at any point for the very first time, don't come empty handed. So let's say you're meeting your neighbor and they just moved in, bring some cookies over. Hey, welcome to the neighborhood. Let's say you're meeting your best friend at her new apartment. Hey, bring some wine and you guys share a bottle of wine. Happy new apartment. Let's say you meet a new friend and your new friend's like, hey, come over to my house for the first time. I'll cook dinner. Bring some more wine and be like, hey, thanks for cooking dinner. And oh, by the way, I'm going to take my shoes off at the door because that is very important. But all I'm just saying is that, listen, y'all, you want to be respected and appreciated, then just don't show up empty-handed. I'm not saying every time you come to someone's house you have to bring something, but if you come to someone's house for the first time, regardless of who they are, bring something. Even if it's little, the gesture will be appreciated and they will remember you for it. You're welcome, Americans. Okay, so that part being said, He says it's okay. Um, it's not about your age. It's about what's in your heart, what's in your mind. He talks about how his mom is not a big talker. And I wasn't sure if, and he says that his mom is shy, right? But I wasn't sure if it was like she was shy or if it was more of a language thing. What were you thinking?
I mean, the sister seems to be able to translate.
Yeah.
So even if she didn't want her son to translate, I think she could have said something if she wanted to.
But she didn't say anything.
She didn't say anything. I was wondering if, so when he was speaking, was he speaking French?
No.
Okay. I wonder because remember in the very beginning they told us that he was Berber. So I wonder what her languages are.
Yeah, I don't know. But it definitely wasn't French because I would have caught that. Um, yeah, I don't know. So Osama's trying to reassure Debbie that everything's going to be fine. The mom is shy, doesn't talk much, but at the end of the day, his parents want a future for their child. And he's a little bit nervous that they won't accept her. And yet he's also hopeful. Now,
Mhm.
here's the thing that I thought was interesting in this whole thing. First of all, parents don't know that she thinks she's permanently moved to Egypt, right?
She thinks.
She thinks that. He hasn't told Osama hasn't told them anything. He's expecting Debbie to tell them. But then at the same time, we see at the end with the trailer for next week that he's had a whole game plan that no one has discussed, no one has heard of. I was like, wait, rewind. What did he just say? That oh, that's why you wanted her to go back to America in a couple of months because you had an ultimate game plan, and your game plan is you wanted to come to
Mhm.
the United States.
Mhm.
And she didn't know that. She thought she
Nope.
was packing up her life, moving there to be with you, and you're like, no, you're going back. You might have a little bit of business here, but we're going to come to America, and if you have a problem with that, then it's over. Wait, what?
Yeah. So I want to go back now and listen to everything that he says in that light because in this episode I caught one thing that he said when they were in the car and she's nervous about their age difference and he says all parents want a better future for their children.
Yep. Every
And
parent
so
wants a future for their child. Yep.
now I want to go back and listen to some of the things that he said and see like were there hints that he dropped in there that I didn't hear previous to this?
Probably. Probably. So, because I'm like this, and I'm sorry if I'm like this, you guys, like I try to be better. I'm trying to be a better human being. Um, but like his teeth were driving me crazy. And the dad's teeth were not that better. And so I just that was my note. And I know I'm a shitty person for being that way, but that's just it's a personal issue. And I'm trying to work through it, but it was terrible to me. So parents don't know that she's moved permanently. To Debbie, that's a red flag. Um, and so one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I would definitely like to get your feedback, April, but they get to the house, they're walking up to the door, and she's like, just put a bag over my head. And he says,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't think he was paying attention to what she was saying. I honestly don't.
This MF did not just say okay. There's no reassurance there, no like, hey, don't worry, it's all right. They're gonna love you. Age is just a number. I'll speak. He's like, okay. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh.
Yeah, I think he had tuned her out at that point.
Must have, because that was rude. So they arrive in Kimset. Debbie wants to make a good impression, but again, she's hyper worried about her age. And this is where we meet Fatima, where you see her on the left, the mom, Asma, the sister, and Mohammed, the dad, right? So the three of them. What were your first impressions, April?
I mean, they seem so, so, so nice, but it's hard to evaluate this conversation now in light of the little clip we saw at the end.
Right. I feel like the mom was not impressed the whole time. And even though maybe there was a language thing, her facial expressions were saying it all. She was barely looking over at Debbie. She was just like sitting there. And maybe it was because she didn't know what was going on. But at the same time, I feel like moms have like a sixth sense. You know what I mean?
Well, her daughter could have also explained to her, like, he's bringing someone over and this is, she could know what's going on, even if she's not aware of the exact conversation happening around her. And yeah, she doesn't seem to be very into it, but we don't have anything to compare it to. What if she's like this all the time?
That's true too. That's true too, right? So Debbie sits down and in Debbie fashion, and I feel like you should be waving your fan right now. She's like, oh, Osama, we made it. I was nervous. Then there's like this awkward silence. Yes, the fan. There's an awkward silence, a long awkward silence. And then I guess to break the silence, the dad starts pouring the tea. And he's like pouring like like up and down. Debbie thinks that she's at a show. She's like, "Oh, this is better than a show. It's so special."
She's having a really hard time letting there be any silence.
Right, that part. Um, and then she starts talking about how she's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to say." She was like, "Bravo, bravo." I was like, "Oh, Debbie.
Yeah.
Oh, Debbie, you're
Yeah,
a mess, but I'm here for it."
I understand her nerves were getting the best of her, but she was like, just, it's okay. It's okay to have silence, guys. It's okay to have a moment.
Right? So they have some tea and Debbie continues to talk, right? And she's like, she finds it attractive that Osama is a family man. You must think your son is unusual. And she's like, unusual, huh? And I was like, oh, there's the American in her. And then the mom's face when she said that, even though, she might not have known what was happening, her face, because this was her face. I was like, oh. Dad was like, wait, what are you saying? Because, in that, Osama translated for them. So the mom knew in the translation what she was saying, that you must think your son is unusual. Well, what parent is going to say, yeah, I think my child is unusual? None. Right? April?
None. I mean, I did tell Taylor that you were weird one day, but there's a story behind it. Then Taylor came home crying from school one day and was like, these kids said that I'm weird. And so just to soften the blow a little bit, I was like, oh God, I forgot to tell you. You are weird. We're all weird. You come from a weirdo family. I am so sorry. I did not let you know before school started. And that just like made it better.
Aww, I love that. So then after saying that you must think your son is unusual, Debbie brings up the age difference and talks about how they have an unusual relationship, but they're connected in art, honesty, and good intentions. And then asks them directly, how do you feel about the age gap, right? And the dad, it reminded me of how great Isabel's parents were towards Gabe. They were just like, hey, listen, no, you know what it is? It's not a block between two people who love each other. What matters is how you get along. And I was like, I don't know where these enlightened parents are, but I'm loving it this season. I really am. What were your thoughts?
I'm not as enlightened as Osama's dad in this situation.
Really? Oh Lord, here we go again, y'all. Here we go again. So April and I, we're not going to agree. Oh, surprise, surprise. Welcome back. Okay, so you think that, so what do you think, April? Let me see. I just dropped my lip gloss. I'm going to take this down. Go ahead, April, speak. So you can't have an age difference?
Well, when you think about a partner for your child, you want someone who's going to be able to do things with them.
Like what?
And travel.
So if you're old, you can't travel?
No, you can definitely travel when you're older, but you're going to have different needs for, maybe you're going to need some mobility things in a short period of time. Remember when Submit wanted to go do some adventurous things, and Jenny was like, I am tired, I am old, I want to go sit down.
True.
So yeah, like right now she's not having any issues. She's riding the camel, but we are looking at her coming up to a time, if they go through their natural course of life, sooner than he is, where she is no longer going to be able to do certain things, which is a natural course of life. And I am not enlightened enough to want my child to be taking care of an older person. As a person who took care of an aging person, That's not something that I would want my child to have to do at that age.
Okay, you don't have to give me the specifics, but roughly what age bracket is Taylor?
Taylor is going to be 20 this year.
Okay, so if Taylor brought home a 30-year-old, your thoughts would be what?
I think 30 is fine.
So 10 years is okay.
I think it wouldn't be my preference because there's a lot of intellectual differences, I think, and life experience between 30 and 20 years old. But I don't think it's putting you in the age where you're going to be taking care of someone else in the
Okay,
next 15 years.
so when Taylor is 30 and brings home a 50-year-old.
I would start to get concerned, but not so much. There's no huge I will tell you exactly what age I will start getting concerned at. 65.
And what's the other age?
The other age would be 25, 30.
Okay, well, I mean that obviously 25 and 65. Okay, I get you,
Yeah.
April. I get you.
Because,
But
around that time, let's see, you're looking at, okay, now you've got knee problems, you start having, maybe you have to take some heart medication, diabetes. I'm just saying, like,
narcolepsy,
at the age where you start having to take care,
neck pain,
like
back pain,
narcolepsy, at the age where you start having to take care of someone, that's when I think, I don't want my child to have to do that. It's a hard thing. I'm as a person who took care of my father while he was getting older, I don't want to sentence anybody to that.
She said sentence too.
I mean, you do it out of love, and so maybe you don't mind it, but it's still a hard thing.
Okay, so I'm in agreement with you. Like if it was like 25 and 65, I'd be like, wait, what's happening here? Like what could you possibly have in common? Which is kind of similar to what we're seeing with Osama and Debbie, right? But I feel like if it's like 5 years, 10 years, even like 15 years, I don't really think that there's an issue there, to be honest.
Well, think about who you were. You know what? I just realized I don't know how old you are. but when I think about who I was at 30 versus who I was at 20, those two people are not compatible.
I'll say this. I could not, first of all, actually, let me not go on a tangent. All I'll say is that there was a poll and someone said that I looked like Darcy. And I was still like shocked and appalled because I was like, Darcy's like 10 years older than me. And I have not had any surgeries. And
that was rude.
I think it was like 17. No, I took a poll, April, and 17% of thousands of people agreed with this person. And I was like, okay. Now, I will say this. I don't personally have a problem with age differences if it makes sense, right? Because I feel like sometimes there are like 30-year-olds that are not quite 30-year-olds. And I'm look at like Nicole, who's 40, who if I looked at her, not just physically, but just her personality, I would think that she was a lot younger because she's really immature, in my opinion, and has no world experience.
That's true.
So I think that that's why she can date someone that's like 30 or whatever, right? But it's all within limits. It's all within limits. But like 20 and 60, I mean, I feel like there might be like some sugar baby issues going on there, but that's just me.
And if that's the case, get your money, get in, get out.
Right, but just know what you're in and know what you're talking about. Know what you're talking about. Don't try to act like it's something that it's not. Like, let's just be real. All right, so we meet Fatima, we meet Asma, we meet the dad. The dad is coming in like 100% enlightened. I did think it was interesting too because just like all of us, like looking at this, seeing Debbie with her like cute little barrette in her hair and Usama with the hat, and us always having the conversations about Islam and Muslim. It's just interesting that it's obviously a lot more relaxed where they are. Don't you agree?
Yes.
right? It's a lot more, even looking at the younger daughter and his sister, right? Yes, the mom is very traditional, but the sister is like,
Mm-hmm.
wearing like Western type clothing. So I think when we can continue to have this conversation, April, about um, Muslim and Islamic traditions and all of that, I think that people do pick and choose. And I don't remember who said it to me last week, but it's very similar to like Christianity. People pick and choose what they're going to follow. And I guess that should be okay, right? Whatever it is to make you a better person.
Yeah. I think I might be misremembering, but didn't Osama say that the women where he's from, they choose what they want to do and it's no issue. They get to choose?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But, if we put Nicole and Mahmoud in this conversation, it would be a whole different thing, right? So so one of the things that I thought was interesting was the dad. So Muhammad was like, first he thought this whole thing with between Debbie and Osama was weird, and then he finally accepted it. And part of part of his acceptance was allowing Usama to have his own conversation. So the dad was part of the conversations in the beginning, and then he let Usama kind of do his own thing because he accepted it and realized that there's nothing he can do about it. And then Debbie was really interested on their ages. And what I thought was funny is that they told the dad's age, but they didn't tell the mom's age. So the dad's 68. Debbie's convinced that he looks younger than 68. Ah! Yeah. Do you have a comment over there, April, hiding behind your fan?
I don't know what 68 looks like to her.
Me neither. Because how old is Debbie? Because I was trying to figure out. I couldn't remember. Is she 62? Yeah, because Angela is 52, right?
Right.
Yeah, and she's 10 years older than Angela. Okay, so I mean,
I would not be surprised by this man telling me that he was 68.
same. Same. And I, probably couldn't get past the teeth part, but that's just me. So she's happy that he's older than her. And one of the things that I thought was so age appropriate for Debbie was she's like, I'm just glad to be here and to be still alive. Y'all don't come for me. I've had a hard week, so I'm a little bit of an asshole. That's probably why. Okay, Jen and Rishi. Overall thoughts of this segment?
I think that you're right again. I think that all of this was taped all at one time.
Oh, wait. What?
I think once again.
Hello, everybody in the live chat. Because y'all are being a little quiet because you guys never agree with me. You always agree with April. Let's go ahead and take a moment of silence. Everyone, peek up. If you're listening to the podcast later or watching this later, let's go ahead and take a moment of silence and listen to April. Okay, what were you saying, April?
You may be correct.
That is not what you said. So rewind. Go ahead.
You're gonna put this on a loop, aren't you?
Hell yeah. Go ahead. What did you say?
You were right.
What was the last part of that though?
About the filming.
Nope. You said because I have a great memory. Yeah, that part.
Right.
So let's go back. Let's make this easier for you. So what was it?
She was right again, guys.
I can't hear you. Hello? Wait. Go ahead.
She might have been right again, guys.
What was I right about?
The filming.
The filming. I'm waiting.
I think this was all filmed at once. Jen and Rishi.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Because suddenly the friends are showing up right after you arrive, but you did not talk to them at all about them coming over when you were just back home.
Stupidness. It's all stupidness.
She's like,
Stupid. Okay, yeah. I was super irritated by Randy specifically. I think Randy wants to get with Rishi. That's my personal opinion. I think that she's
oh, okay.
attracted to him. I think that she is a frenemy in the sense that she's like, "Hey, I'm happy that my friend has this younger, hotter boyfriend, but I'm not super happy for her because, like, why doesn't he want to get with me?" And her words exactly were, you liked me at least online. I think he liked me briefly on social media. I mean, who says that about their friend's significant other?
Yeah, she has big, it should have been me energy.
Abs 100%, April. 100%. And I'm not here for it. So Jen says, and she continues to say this, and I'm just like, you either care or you don't care, but she's still stuck that he sent a half naked picture to Randy. And then he's like, well, it wasn't a big deal, which I thought was hilarious, April, because he said it was already on social media, he says. And then she's like, but you also sent her roses. And then he said, quote, that picture is for everyone. And then my note was, he's for the streets.
For the streets. Might as well call him Future Rishi.
He's for the streets. You said that
For
picture's for everyone. For
that's for
everyone, Rishi.
everyone.
You belong to the streets, and the streets belong to you.
So I was wondering, do you think, because you were talking about like this is like a normal thing for models to do you think that he really is just like, oh, it's posted to my social media, so it's not a big deal if I send it to her in the situation where he also sent the roses?
Well, see, I don't know. So, what is the roses? Is the roses like a meme or a meme rose? Like, I don't even understand what was the context of the roses because the first time I was hearing about roses. But do I think that when he says the pictures are for everyone, that it's that model mentality? 100%. He's like, I posted this for everyone to see because I'm a model. And so me sending it to you directly doesn't matter because it was already in my feed. I was just showing you how model-ish I was. But the roses part is like, wait, what is that about?
Yeah, I don't know. And I think the rudest thing about this is they kept on flashing to the picture and then flashing to him at present.
I know it's super. I was looking for the model photo because it is very different and it's really kind of messed up
This is
of them to
rude.
do that. Yeah.
Like
Oh,
they
here
were
it is. I did find it. Okay, so hold on. It's this one right here. So they show this, and I'll right? So you see, obviously, he's chiseled, you guys. And one of the things that we do have to talk about too, April, is that I've had a lot of friends that have entered fitness competitions. And when you're working up to the fitness competition, you're on a very, very strict diet and you're working out all the time and you're getting cut and ripped for a reason, right? For the
mhm.
competition. But when the competition's over, they all go and eat, they get the burgers and the fries and all the things. And being shredded like that is a very specific thing, and not everyone keeps it that way. So you can still be fit, but you're not going to have all the muscles popping up because you're not training the same way you were training for the competition. So I am going to give him that. And the second part I'm going to give him, because like I am a product of it as well, is that, we went through a pandemic and some people thrived. I have a celebrity friend who said that he just got more fit. He's like, "What? This is great. I was able to work out like all day every day because we couldn't go to work, and I was riding my bike and running and all the things." That's not what happened to me, you guys. I was at home all the time. Maybe I, went for a walk here and there, but predominantly I wasn't going anywhere, right? So like these cheeks are like a product of that. So I'm gonna give Rishi that. Ooh, do you want to add anything, April?
No. I went the other way. I signed up at the beginning of the pandemic for all of these like extra workout online programs, and I got the smallest healthy adult weight that I've ever been because I have a smaller unhealthy weight. But my smallest healthy weight, I mean, the exes were coming back. They were messaging me like, "Girl, let's try it again."
See, so then you were like my friend out here who you guys obviously took great advantage of all that time. And I'm proud of you. That was definitely not my story.
I'm fluffy again now, though, guys.
It's definitely, oh my God, I've been fluffy. Like, just like these are not regular. Anyways, enough about that. So, I do think he's for the streets though, because the way he answers questions, I don't like roundabout. Like, tell me directly. You want to
Yeah.
hear something super funny, you guys? I will give you a little sneak peek into my life because I know that I am quite private. But if you watch the show, you know that I say whatever is on my mind. I say whatever, and I'm very direct, and I stand behind all the things that I say. And when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But when I'm right, I'm right. So I was out and about. I was in the streets this weekend, April, and a couple of things happened. And
Mhm.
some of you will appreciate it, some of you guys won't. So the first thing happened was it was the Lakers game, and I'm a big sports fan, love the Lakers. And we were watching the Lakers, and these two people came up and they stood right in front of us. So I thought between the music and the noise and all the people, April, that I was talking at a regular cadence. Okay. So I turn and say, "Hey friend, you're going to have to move." Now, I didn't realize that that person heard me. So she looks behind her and sees me and she moves and I was like, "Oh my," I was embarrassed for myself, right? Because I didn't realize it was that loud. So that was the first thing. The second thing that happened, April, was um there was like a beer garden area for the adults and then there was like the rest of the area and there was this kid maybe like between 7 and 10 that was jumping the fence between the beer garden and like the outside
Mm.
area and everyone was looking like what's happening with this kid and then one time he jumps over and he falls to the ground and you know there's that like 10 seconds where they're either going to freak out and start crying or they're going to jump up and bounce back,
Mhm.
right? So I was looking to see like what's going to happen and other kid that he was with, distracted him so he bounced back up and he got up and jumped back over the fence and there was a mom across the way looking at him. Everyone's looking at him like, where's the parent in this situation? Fast forward towards the end of the day, we're leaving the parking structure, April, and there's this big kerfuffle. Someone's throwing shit at people, excuse my language, throwing stuff at people. And I look over and guess who it was, April?
The kid.
It was the kid, right? So I'm looking at the kid. I'm looking over and I literally turn my back because you want to know why I had to turn my back, April?
What did you say?
Right, because I didn't want to say anything, so I had to turn my
Oh.
back because if I kept looking at him, I would have said something.
Mhm.
So I turn my back and then I say, I hate bad kids. My friend says to me, so you just really say whatever's on your mind, eh? And then I said, do you not know me? I turned my back so I wouldn't say anything worse than that. But I love kids and kids love me, you guys. But I do hate bad kids. And any African that's watching, y'all know what I mean. I hate bad kids. And I'm not saying like you're bad, you're born bad. I'm saying those naughty kids that know they should not be doing what they're doing because there's no parental control anywhere. And so they're going to just push the limit. I can't. So it takes a tribe, it takes a village, April.
It does. I'm surprised you didn't offer correction. I do it frequently.
See, I wanted to, but I was already called out for saying whatever was on my mind. That
I know.
being said, Rishi feels like he hasn't done anything. He doesn't think there's a problem. He felt like, you know what? Jen already told me about her two friends, so I figured that you guys were pulling my leg. So this was all a joke. And so I don't really feel like I did anything wrong. But in the same breath, he's like, but when I felt like it was a little inappropriate, then I went ahead and blocked Randy. I don't get it. So like, if you weren't doing anything inappropriate and you didn't think it was a big deal and you thought it was a joke, then why would you have to block her?
And why would you not mention it to Jen?
All of that, right? So he says, "So sorry. What can I say?" What? Jen's pissed. She's like, "Go get your phone. I want to look through your phone." Which, you guys, is already a red flag to me. Like, if you feel like you can't trust your partner and you have to go through their phone because you don't believe the words that are coming out of their mouth, then that to me is showing that there's a bigger problem in your relationship.
I agree. But if you're going to do it, then do it. If you're going to do it, then do it. If you're going to do it, you put everything into Google Translate and work it out. Don't be half-assed about it.
That part, right? So she's complaining that everything is in Hindi, so she doesn't know what's what. He feels validated because he's like, "I showed you my phone. There was nothing there. That's the evidence." And I'm like you, first of all, I would never do it because I'm just not that person. Like, if we're at that point that I need to check your phone, then clearly we're out the door and something's happening. But if I was going to be that person, then you best believe that I'm going to have your phone for as long as I need your phone. And if I have to pull up my computer and laptop and type in Google Translate, what is this, what is that, and I spend hours on your phone, then that's what I'm going to do. What I'm not about to do is be like, "Oh, it's all in a different language. I don't get it. Here's your phone back." You sound stupid. You asked for it. If you're going to commit to it, commit to it.
Yeah. I would find it suspicious if every conversation was really in Hindi when he speaks fluent English. To me, that would mean that you must be deleting your English conversations.
Which we know he does, right? Because he deleted the conversation with Randy before he blocked her. So, yeah, agreed. So then now Jen wants to know when he's going to tell his family about her. And the way they did this Submit and Rishi comparison, and they didn't really do it, but you could see it because they played it on loop where he's like, "Just give me a little bit more time. Just give me a little bit more time. Just give me a little bit more time." I mean, if we haven't heard that a million times from Submit, I don't know what. And I was like, "Oh, the shade, TLC, the shade." Did you feel the same way?
I did feel the same way, but you know what? They didn't even say anything about it when I watched Pillow Talk.
I mean, would you? I wouldn't. I'd be like, "I saw it. I had no comment." She's mad because she's like, "You've had 3 years and you still haven't told them." And then he brings out this like ridiculous. I mean, and I'm not saying astrology, whatever you believe is cool to me, but the way he was like, "Well, I could tell them at 4 p.m. on August 2nd because that's what my astrologer friend said." I was like, "You sound ridiculous right now."
By the way, we remember that's not even really what the guy said. He really said it's not ever going to work out, but if you insist, then here's a day.
That part. He said, "No, it's never going to work out." His friend said, "No." And we talked about all this. You guys can go watch our episode from last week. But his astrologer was like, "Nah, nope, it's going to be problems. I don't see it. It's never going to happen." And like April said, "But if you insist, let's do it at 4:00 on August the 2nd. You want your life to blow up? Let's do it in the middle of summer, in the middle of the day, and at least the sun will be shining."
Yeah, you can definitely believe what you want to believe. It doesn't excuse the past 3 years of him not even mentioning to his family, "Don't bring any more girls around. I have someone. I'm waiting for the astrology date that I can introduce you to this person, but I do have someone."
But it doesn't even sound like that. It's he doesn't want to tell them. That's it.
He doesn't. That's
It
what
has
it really
nothing to
boils
do
down
with,
to.
with his astrologer friend. It has nothing to do with any of that. He doesn't want to tell them for whatever reason.
But since he does not want to marry her, I'm left confused about why he's doing this at all.
That
Because
part.
he doesn't want to marry her. They're not having sex. So what are you getting? He's not promoting his personal training business. So
Yeah,
what is it?
I'm not sure. That's a really good question. Renee says astrology is very important in Indian culture. Parents use it when matchmaking. And Renee, I'm sure you're correct, but I just don't think that that's what Rishi's number one main agenda is. I think that he just doesn't want to tell his parents.
Yeah.
Let's rewind to Sumit and Jenny. I mean, same situation, right? It's important in the Indian culture. Sumit knew that, but he still came up with 1,001 excuses before it actually. He went and married a whole other person, y'all. So let's just, okay. So everyone's still stuck on the shirtless pictures. Randy and Myra show up in India to see Jen. And apparently they were planning this trip for a long time, even though when Jen was back in, where is she from? Oklahoma. Where is she from? Oklahoma?
Yeah. Something like that.
Never mentioned it. But here they are. And I just felt they were so just what am I trying to say without saying it? They were just so interesting with their travel ways. So interesting. First of all, they were dressed like they were both in a different country. One had like a summer dress on, and the other one had a hat, long sleeve, and then layers upon layers.
I definitely looked at them and said, "What is the weather?"
Right. Are you guys in the same country? Are you guys going to the same country? Because it doesn't look like it. Then they got off the bus and they were all like, "Oh, we're here." All of it was just like, my note says very American. So Randy's still stuck on the social media. That's all she keeps bringing up, and that's what she brought up the whole segment. That the shirtless photo, the social media, Rishi, all of that, right? And then this is exactly what my note says. So they meet up with Jen, and they feel like so far India's hot, it's noisy, cars are honking, it's very different. Apparently some guy, as they were driving by in the bus, puked out of the bus. And they get to Jen's apartment, which again I still think is an Airbnb, but let's just call it her apartment for what it is. And one of the things, if you've not traveled, that bathroom is not the norm. Many places in the world have a full bathroom where you shower, you use the toilet all in one room, and it's all tiled and it's all watered out. That's not something that's weird to anyone that has traveled. But Mara says, well, it's like you're glamping forever. Because the bathroom is like, oh, and her whole thing. And I was just like, oh, this is my note. My note says, oh, I hate them.
Well, you are predisposed to hate traveling Americans.
Well, because April, you're not in America anymore. So do you think everything in all the entire world is going to be exactly how it's set up in America? Because even me traveling the Americas, it's different in every state.
Yeah.
So what I guess my question is this: what do you think the universal American experience is going to be?
What bothers me is when you have people like them who travel to India and they see the bathroom and they say, "Oh, it's like you're glamping forever." But then if they went to, let's say they went to Japan where they do the recycled water, they would be like, "Oh my God, so cool, so high tech." I think that those opinions are filtered through a really racist, classist lens. And so one is called efficient and cool, and the other one is, oh, glamping forever. That's what I get bothered by.
I'm going to have to agree with you.
Because that bathroom is not unusual. I do remember the first time I encountered a bathroom like that, but since then I've seen many, many more, and it's not unusual.
No, that's what I just said. It's not unusual. I've encountered them many a place, you guys. You're gonna go to Africa, you're gonna find that. If you're gonna actually go to Japan, like April said, you're gonna find that in a different sense of the word, but you're still gonna find it. It's not unusual. And if you actually like open your mind, it's actually kind of cool because you could just like strip down, do all your business in all one space. The water washes all away and you're good to go. So like stop.
Yeah. It also proves your point about the way that this was filmed, because if she really was back home for a couple of months, she would have explained to them how her apartment was set up,
Oh my God, April, did you
right?
roundabout say I was right a second time in one broadcast?
Did I?
I feel like you did.
Suddenly, I think I'm mute.
Oh,
I don't think my mic is working anymore.
well, I hear you loud and clearly. So you might be wrong about that, but I'll take it. I'll take it. So, April briefly shows them the apartment, and then she wants to show them the rooftop. Now, you guys, we've been to the rooftop many a time, and I don't recall, and April, maybe you recall the rooftop looking like this, but they went up there when they were doing the kite flying. They went up there when they were doing the
The
yoga
yoga.
poses. I definitely did not see this whole chair situation with all the lights set up. Maybe she just did it. I don't know. But she's like, she was so adamant about showing the rooftop. And I was like, that rooftop never looked like that before. Like it just
Yeah.
didn't to me. And I didn't know that that was your spot all of a sudden because this is all I saw. It was like this. It was like this for yoga. It was like this for kiting. And all of a sudden, there's like 3 old school leather chairs, swivel chairs, and a bunch of like Christmas lights.
I think this must be how Rishi dressed it up for her return.
Oh, good point. That could be it. I don't believe it, but could be it. So they go up there with some drinks. They really want to meet Rishi, and they talk about how, well, Jen talks about how they haven't been intimate, and she's not going to be intimate with him until they get married, and they haven't been intimate in 3 years. Do you want to say something before I say something?
I don't know that that's helping anything. I mean, she could definitely choose to just not be with him anymore, but I don't know that that's helping anything.
Tizway says that picture of Rishi is what Brandy wants in her life. That part. That part, Ty, that part. Okay, so I'm going to say this, and I say this all the time. I talk about, the 4 things that you need to talk about before you're in a serious relationship. And one of the things is sex. And anyone that tells you that sex is not an important relationship is, a damn lie. And anyone that tells you that, you can be with someone for 3 years and that person is not having any type of sex. I was about to say something that was super mean, but I won't. What I will say is this. Just make sure you're on the same page as your partner. If you guys are deciding to be celibate before marriage, then that's one thing that you guys are both on the same page with. And, that's quite possible. I don't think that that's what's happening with Jen and Rishi.
No.
We know that they've already been intimate in the past. And then she decided that she doesn't want to be intimate anymore. And from my understanding is that she didn't tell him until she came back from the pandemic situation. Now, you all haven't been intimate only because the pandemic didn't allow it because you couldn't travel. And so have you had a sit down conversation saying moving forward, I don't want to continue to have sex with you until we get married? I don't think that conversation was had. I think that it was a unilateral decision by Jen because she was not feeling comfortable in her relationship and she thought that she was taking some power back for her. Now, granted, you do what you want, but what we're not about to pretend is that Rishi, who his own best friend can't believe that he's been celibate, his own best friend, okay? Let's not act like we're going to be surprised when something else has happened.
Yeah, I don't believe it. Another reason why I don't believe it is because he didn't have more questions to ask about it. He was just like, okay. Like, in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, I'll just go back to my other sources.
That part. He was unbothered. He was
Completely
unbothered by it. He
unbothered.
was like, whatever. I haven't been missing it, so okay. Oh, and by the way, when she's like, "Oh, have you been with anyone else?" and he roundabout did not answer, it was like,
Never
"Oh,
answered.
that is not my brand. I'm just working out all the time. I'm getting fit." Oh, stop it.
Yeah.
Y'all sound ridiculous.
For what her concern is that he was not faithful. For what her concern is, I think it would have been smarter to say, let's go get tested together. I mean, it wouldn't protect her for all times going forward, but her not having sex with him does not address the concern that she expressed.
100% it does not. And again, I'm going to, dive deeper into it. Okay, so you've decided that you're not going to have sex until you get married. But guess what? Getting married is going to change what in that relationship? Because you haven't had actually the conversation. And the conversation that you have to have, that I continue to tell y'all, and some of you guys do and some of you guys don't. And then you're surprised when you have problems in the bedroom because you haven't had the conversation. So I will reiterate what I continue to say all the time. If you guys decide that you guys are going to be together and you're going to be long term, how are you not having the conversation about talking about how important is sex in your relationship? How often do you think you're going to be having sex in this relationship? And by sex, if I have to break it down, what does that mean to you? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Are you like hey, let's like roll over and boom, boom, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am? Are you bringing, other sources into the bed? Like, what does that look like to you? And are you thinking that that's what it's going to look like throughout
Sure.
the
Yeah.
entire relationship? And a step further, for those of you guys that want to start family, because that's the other thing that I tell you that you need to talk about, is do you want kids? And if you don't want kids and all of the things, when you have kids, that's going to change the dynamics of your sexual relationship and what happens in the bedroom. And what are your expectations? So that when you get there, if you decide that that's something that you're going to do, you need to have realistic expectations, because, the sex swing in your bedroom is not going to be the same sex swing when you have two kids that are running around. Like,
It's not.
stop it.
I go even further nowadays. I ask people to send me their favorite corn because I want to see. I want to see what you're into.
You know what? I have so many questions. I have so many questions. So
We'll do that off of YouTube.
Yes, we will. So, y'all keep that in the back of your mind because it's all important, all the things. And so Myra, the other friend, is like, you know what? This all sounds like excuses to me. She's like, as a married woman, she can't get over the sex thing. She says all men have needs. And, I feel like she's not wrong with that statement, but I also feel that that statement is a little antiquated because, yes, men have needs, but guess what, y'all? Women have needs, and it's okay for women to have needs. So, like, you could just say people have needs.
Yeah, you could say people have needs. You don't have to. The way that she said it implies like it's the woman's job to take care of
Duty.
them. So I
Duty.
don't. Yeah, I don't like the phrasing of it. But people do have needs that are physical. And if you've already been physical with someone, it is often difficult to understand why that is ending. And they didn't have any long, in-depth conversation about it. So I would agree that there's a lot happening here that indicates that she's celibate, not him.
Plus, you're on holiday. Like, how are you I just, I just don't even know. You all have nothing better to do. So, like, what?
Yeah, she said before she didn't really have any friends. She went out the one time. So, girl, what are you doing?
What are you doing? And you have this whole big Airbnb. You're friggin' I don't even know. I'm just saying. You might as well go ahead and get busy right now because y'all are never getting married. So if we're waiting till you get married, 3 years is going to be 5 years, it's going to be 10 years. Pow, you wasted time. Life is short. Like I said at the top of this episode, go ahead and enjoy yourself. Go ahead and do all the things that make you happy because tomorrow's not promised.
Mm-hmm.
So Rishi's willing to meet up with Jen's friend, Randy and Myra. And Jen says, quote, she would be done, because we've heard that all the time. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. she'd be done with Rishi if he was cheating. The friends think that he is, and they think that she knows the answer and is not willing to accept it. And I agree with them 100%, because every time they bring something up, she's like, oh, well, but I love him and I want to see this through. Oh, but, I care about him and I want to see this. Then stop complaining. Stop telling me all the things, because as soon as we tell you what we really think, you come back and say, oh, but I love him. So then just go ahead and love him, but stop asking for our advice or our opinion.
Also, you can love people from afar.
Right, that part.
You don't have to be in a relationship with somebody to love them.
That part. And you can love someone and not be with them in a romantic situation. You could just be friends.
You can. It's okay.
So they think he's cheating, and again, Myra with her thoughts says, if a man's not asking you to have sex with him, he's asking someone else. Again, like, I just want to say this, you guys, okay? And maybe this is like me. I don't know if I'm forward thinking or backward thinking, but my thoughts on this is that it takes two people to be in an intimate relationship. And I mean, even then, it doesn't really take, it could take one person or 10 people. But my point being this, it's not a woman's duty. Okay. And I just hate the wording of all of this. And the fact, like, hey, if you're not giving it to him, he's getting it somewhere else. Well, let's just say people again, because I'm going to tell you something that is 100% true. Okay. And some of you guys might be shocked by this, but I know it to be true. As a female, as a young person, and I'm not saying this about me, I'm saying about in general. As a female, as a young person, as an attractive person, as a 20-something-year-old social gay person, as an older MILF, as like a hot stud, as a rich dude, whatever you like. If you want to have sex today, tomorrow, and the next day, you can have it. Finding sex and having sex is not hard.
No, it's not.
At all.
Negative.
Okay? So if a man's not asking you to have sex with him, he's asking someone else, that's bullshit. Like, y'all can have sex every day, all day. Listen. Okay? That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, it's quite possible to just be out there. If you're out there and if that's what you're looking for, you will find it. Okay? No one needs to be like, oh, well, if you're not giving it to him, he's like, what? I don't know. Does that make sense to you, April?
It makes sense. It's cheaters are gonna cheat. Okay?
Yeah.
No, there's no keeping a man that doesn't want to be kept, or a woman who doesn't want to be kept. So
that part.
What? I was gonna reference a celebrity thing, but let's go ahead.
No, what? Let's talk about it. That's my business.
Scottie Pippen's former wife, Larsa.
Yeah.
He said they had sex every day, multiple times a day, the whole time they were married. Did that keep them?
Didn't she say it was like some like
it was multiple times? But you know what? Even when that interview a long time ago, when her and the Kardashians were still friends, because I watched the Kardashians, she said on the show years ago that they had sex 3 times a day. And everybody thought she was just kind of bluffing, but now I think it's true. And that didn't keep them together.
I mean, yeah, she said that. But I feel like this most recent interview, I think it was like, and don't quote me, someone's going to know the real answer, but I feel like in the back of my mind, I remember her saying it was like 7 times a day, every single day.
Was it 7? It could have very well been 7.
Yeah.
Something very high.
I was thinking like, do they have kids? So like
They
what
they have
happened when she was like even when she was pregnant? And then I was like, you as women, like that time I had a lot of questions, y'all. I was like,
look,
something every day?
apparently nothing was stopping Scotty.
Uh, apparently.
Apparently nothing was stopping him, okay?
Apparently. Apparently. That was like yes. That is a side note that we have to have a whole other discussion about. But Rishi is having dinner with the girls and Jen, and Randy has to bring up for the umpteenth time that she thinks that Rishi liked her briefly on social media. What were your thoughts when she said that, April? Because I gagged.
I it's such a weird thing to do as a friend because first of all, if I was going to try and set one of my friends' partners up like that, I would use my Finsta first of all. And then secondly, I would never say, "Oh, I think he was really into me." That's a weird thing to say
Super
about your
weird.
friend.
Unless you wanted him to be into you.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
which might be actually what she wants. A lot of people are agreeing in the comments that they think that she really wants either him or her own version of him.
That part. That is what I think. 100%. So I agree with you guys all in the live chat. I agree with what April just said. That was my first thought. She either wants him or a version of him. But I remember hearing a long time ago where, there are some people that are like, hey, I want someone just like your partner. I just want someone just like your partner. But really what they're saying to you without saying to you is, I want your
Well,
partner.
your partner, exactly. Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why it's a little bit scary when you do have a healthy relationship to share certain things.
Yeah. Listen, y'all. Yup. Yup. Okay, so Rishi's feeling awkward in this whole situation. There's a bunch of small talk. Randy's like staring at him. I felt uncomfortable the way she was staring at him. She was like staring him down, like, hey, I'm here now. And she got all glammed up, which I thought was a thing as well. And then she kind of goes off and says, you were being flirtatious with me online. You sent me a picture with no shirt. She felt it was inappropriate. Uh, and he was like, well, I thought it was all jokes. I thought you guys were just pulling my leg. And then she says to him, which is why I had concerns. And I was like, you're a red flag, Randy. It's just like, well, why did you block me? And then delete our chat history. Well, first of all, if he blocked you, how do you know he deleted the chat history?
Okay,
If
I
it
had a
was on
question about that.
Instagram,
I have a question. When I delete my conversation with someone, they know that?
so if you're on Instagram, right? If you're on Instagram and you delete part of the chat, they will know
How do they know?
because it's no longer there. So I'm going to
Or
use,
even them?
yeah. So
I am so
for
embarrassed.
example, Christina, because I love you and we're friends, I can do this. So my friend Christina, we have a chat going on right here, right? If I hit this, right, and it says I can't dot dot dot, there's a bunch of stuff. But if I hit unsend, it's now gone like it didn't happen. But guess what? She's already seen it. And when she goes to look to see that it's no longer there, she knows that I've deleted it.
I've deleted whole conversation with people before I ghost them.
On Instagram,
Yes.
they 100% know that you did that. And you seem crazy. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. I had someone that I used to deal with that would do that all the time. And not just that, he would also do that ghost thing. I'm gonna use Christina as an
When they
example.
disappear, the
Yeah.
disappearing
So
messages.
the
Yeah, I
vanish
do that.
mode, he would do that too. And I was like, I will have no conversations if we're in vanish mode. So you can either decide what you want to do or what you're not gonna do. But yeah, they see that all the time.
Oh my gosh. This is more embarrassing than when I found out people can see you watching their stories.
That, and you guys know that when you take a screenshot, so again, I'll use Christina. When you take a screenshot, they know. So if you see that little bubble there, the little bubble on the side, it shows you that that person took a screenshot. We could do a whole Instagram 101 because I'm about that life.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
That all being said, so either he deleted and she saw it and then he blocked her, but the way she said it, that he blocked her and then also deleted, there's no way she would have known if she was already deleted. So just everyone know that that's what's happening on Instagram. So
Okay.
um she goes on to say, or ask him if he messages other girls, and he says, he gets a lot of requests and there are a lot of messages in his requests, right? The third inbox, but he blocks them and he shows them. Jen's feeling better because she feels like he's being open and more direct, like he didn't have to show that. Okay, he didn't have to show that, but like what was interesting to me is that you looked at his texts and you said they were all in Hindi, but then his Instagram were all of a sudden all in English and you all of a sudden feel better. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, she obviously didn't go in the request folder. Also, he said that he blocked them, but when people come in my request folder, I don't have to block them. Like they're already, unless I respond to it, it won't even acknowledge that I saw it.
Yeah. Then they say, what are your intentions with Jen? And he says his intention is to introduce her as a fiance. Yeah, if you're gonna do that, you're probably gonna do that a lot earlier than what's happening here.
Yeah.
Randy goes on to say that she feels he's shady, and I feel like she just said that because again, she wants her version of him, if not him, her version of him. So she's never gonna be on board because I personally think she's jealous of this relationship that's going on, that she doesn't have one for herself.
And she could just ask directly, do you have
That
any
part.
friends you could hook me up with? Don't be a
Yep.
hater.
Yep.
Go get you some, girl.
So then this is the part that was a little sketch to me, that I was like, I don't exactly understand what she's upset about. So then they ask about this whole finding him, the arranged marriage thing, right? And we find out that the family had like three options that they presented to him. And he said at one time, I don't know if it was lost in translation. I don't know, but I understood what he said. When they finally told him that they were looking, they presented him with three options and he rejected all three. Jen freaks out and says, I don't understand. You first said you just found out they were looking. You rejected a variety of options. It's all lies. You're telling lies. And I was like, I don't understand what the lie is, though.
I completely understood what was happening here. This is something when I'm preparing people for court that I have to warn them about. It is a very USian form of storytelling to be precise in your time frames and your numbers. And if you're not precise, it's perceived as a credibility issue, as a lying issue for the court. So in other cultures where it might be okay to say, I was threatened 5 or 6 times on one occasion, and then the next time you tell the story, I was threatened 7 or 8 times on another occasion. Here, a judge would perceive that as deceitful and non-credible. But that's just normal storytelling in another culture.
So give that same example on how you would do it correctly in American culture.
So when I'm coaching people, first of all, I establish, have you told this story before already in a sworn testimony? Because if you told the story before, we have to use the exact same facts. If you haven't told the story before, I explain this is what is considered a threat in the United States. How many times did that kind of thing happen to you? Now you've given me a number. That's the number we're going to use. And anytime that this topic comes up, you have to be consistent on how many times, because even though it's perfectly normal in another place to be unsure of the exact number and then just guess each time you tell the story, it is not okay to do it here.
Gotcha.
And so I think what's happening in this conversation is at one point he said there were 2, at one point he said 3, at one point he said 4. And so for him, this is not a huge difference. It's not a big deal. But for her, it is a credibility issue.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Makes sense to me. We're moving on, April. We're moving on to Gabe and Isabel. Thoughts on their segment?
I feel so sorry for Gabe because Taylor was also born in Florida. And so we have a passport that says male and an ID that says male. But to get the birth certificate changed, they require a court order.
From where?
From any court in Florida. It's better. You can have a court from outside of Florida, but they accept the ones in Florida a lot easier. And you can only get the court order if you prove a doctor writes you a letter saying that you had a sex reassignment surgery. So for people who've only had, for example, top surgery, but they haven't had bottom surgery, they may not be able to get that kind of letter to get their birth certificate changed.
So then what did they do in that situation?
Um, well, what's happened in Gabe's situation is that it hasn't mattered because he's got his passport, he's got his ID. For Taylor, it doesn't matter. We've got your passport, we've got your ID. And so I understand that Isabel's mad at him because he didn't take care of it, but I also understand that Gabe's like, I haven't needed it for any reason.
Okay. I mean, that was my question. Like, okay. That was my question.
Because when you go to apply for a job, they only need two things that show who you are, right? So if you have your passport, you have your well, actually a passport by itself is enough. But if you have your passport, you have your ID, then that's fine. Like most, there are only a few things that ask for your birth certificate. And once you have your other forms of ID, you really don't have to go back to it for much. But also in Colombia, this was confusing for me because Colombia has allowed same-sex marriage since like 2016. And if you allow same-sex marriage, then why do you care what gender is listed on somebody's documents?
Yeah, it's yeah. It's very confusing to me actually.
I mean, she did specifically say that the law requires that the documents have to be matching, but
Matching.
it just seems like to me, if you the only purpose for that would be to exclude certain people from being able to get married. But if you don't have that exclusion, you allow same-sex marriage, then why does it even matter?
So I guess my question too, April, is then, I mean, if you felt so strongly that you're going through the process, wouldn't wouldn't like the birth certificate be one of the main things where like if you feel like you were assigned the wrong gender at birth, wouldn't that be the first thing that you changed once you changed transition?
I think because it's just costly and a little bit of a nuisance, and you don't really need to present it for work or for medical treatment or for travel. Most people just don't bother. The people who are tend to be more concerned with getting their birth certificate changed are those who want a legal name change. I don't know if we know what Gabe's name was prior to the change. But if his name was always Gabriel or if it was Gabriella, maybe he didn't care about doing that. But if you want a legal name change, that does start with your birth certificate. So it's going to be more important to get that changed to get your other documents changed. But if you're just changing your gender on your form, like Taylor has the same name from birth, then it doesn't matter. I mean, not that it doesn't matter, but it's just not quite very high on the list of concerns.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, so we'll go through this and I have more questions, but we'll go through this first. So Gabe and Isabel told her parents that they got engaged. They were excited. The mom still does think it's too fast, but she's going to support them because she loves them. So they are en route to a lawyer because Gabe has less than a month there, which I did want to talk to you about, left on his visa. So they want to get married before it expires because if they don't, then he's going to have to leave for, he says, 6 months till the next calendar year. Can you clarify what he meant by that?
Yeah, so he has unfortunately expired the time that he can spend in Colombia in one or he will expire the time he can spend there in one calendar year without violating any of their visitors visa.
And what was it?
Well,
90 days, was it?
I think it's 6 months.
6 months. Okay.
But he had already used up a lot of his time earlier.
Okay.
Because contrary to popular belief, even as Americans, when you enter another country, you don't just get to do whatever you want. They do still have restrictions. You are on a visitor's visa. So he's trying to make sure he doesn't violate that and was hoping to roll over into applying for residency based on marriage. And obviously, this is going to, if it takes too long for him to get the birth certificate reissued, then that will give him a problem.
So then if he goes back to Miami and his visa expires within that month, then is that what he's talking about? He's going to have to wait like 6 months before he can come back? Because the other thing he said is that they don't like to see back and forth on the visa.
Yeah. I my understanding of what he is saying is if he was to wait there and try and get it done from there, then he would be running out of time. So he's going to leave to avoid doing that, and hopes he doesn't have any problem coming back because they don't like the back and forth. And the reason for that is because, unfortunately, there is still a bit of a drug problem coming from and to Colombia. And that route, Colombia to Miami, is
It's
one of the
huge.
ones that has a problem.
Y'all go to Miami International, you'll see. You'll see. All the levels and the dogs and all the things.
So,
Um, yeah, okay, so that makes sense to me. So she wants a romantic beach wedding versus just like having a court paperwork wedding. And Isabel said, she wants to make it special because it's the first time she's getting married. She's never been married before. So they meet with the attorney, and she explains that Gabe is American. She wants to know what documents they need, how long is the process. She's asking all the right questions. The lawyer says that all they need is a passport and a birth certificate, and within 7 to 8 days, they can have a date for marriage for them. And that's when Gabe says, "Well, that's where I have a problem. I was born a girl, so my passport says male, my ID says male, but my birth certificate does not." And then the lawyer explains that the birth certificate and whatever other ID he has to match, has to be the same. And so she asked, how long. She asked how long will it take to change it. Was it weeks? Is it months? And this is so again, you answered it at the top of this, but I still was like, just like Isabel is like, why didn't you change it back then? Because, and I know you answered, but it's still my question a little bit. I feel like if you feel like you were assigned the wrong gender at birth, then your birth certificate should be the first thing that you change.
yeah, I think like it sounds like that logically. On a smaller scale, my name is spelled wrong on my birth certificate, and I've never fixed it because I don't care.
But is
um,
that the same as
it's
someone
not
who
the
says
same.
that? Because last week, April, I thought it stuck with me a lot where he talked about the invisible limb and how he just
Yes.
never felt comfortable. And he also talked about last week how he hated himself, how he didn't want to be on this earth that way. And so again, and anyone can answer this, you guys, and if you're watching the replay or listening to the replay, this isn't a genuine question that I have, but to me, and again, I'm still learning and I'm just asking the questions so that I can fully more understand and know. The more you know, the better it is. But I would think that with all of that being said, and the strength and courage of his conviction, that would be the first thing that he would change, because you literally hated yourself the other way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does seem that way, but I can just understand that it's a little bit of a nuisance. Florida has not always had a straightforward process where you could do it. Um, and then now that they have a process where you can change your birth certificate in Florida, it requires you to file the complaint, pay for the complaint, get a letter from your doctor if they're willing to write it, go to court, which may be a friendly or unfriendly place to be. And the judge can agree to change and reissue your birth certificate, or they can say no.
So is that process harder than getting a passport or a driver's license?
significantly harder. For passport, all we had to do was write mail on it and they honored it. For driver's license, we wrote mail, they honored it. They did not require you to present anything from a doctor.
Lori says my husband's mother was spelled differently in her birth certificate and her passport. Oh, I love you. 2 Egg says, but really, how significant is your birth certificate in your daily life? How often do people look at it? And Diana says, I hate my dad's last name, but I didn't change it because it's too much paperwork. Also, I graduated from a master's 5 years ago in the UK and haven't convoluted that here in Colombia.
Yeah, the birth certificate. I think you've used your birth certificate more often because you are in an immigration process.
I think that's probably why. Because I'm like, y'all, I use my
more
birth
often.
certificate all the time.
I haven't looked at my birth certificate in like 10 years. It's just I can travel, I can work, I can go to get I can go get medical treatment. I could do things that I need to do without ever thinking about my birth certificate. So I think it's just the average person's experience is not really handling it that much. Not the average person, but the average American non-immigrant.
Yeah.
But maybe he will, because I didn't think he gave her a very good I don't think he gave her a very good answer to the question. Like, these are just my suppositions on why he didn't change it.
And I get it, you guys. I mean, the live chat is popping. I get it. And I think April said something very important. As an immigrant, your birth certificate I see mine all the time. It's like your main source of everything. If I want to get a driver's license, I need a birth certificate. If I want a social security number, I need a birth certificate. If I want anything, I need to prove it with my birth certificate and also to a green card. So all the paperwork all the time is all the things that I'm looking at on a regular basis. So that also being said, I'm still stuck. And again, it's still just my question because again, for someone who's like new to learning all of this stuff, I just feel like, and I still feel this way, and again, you guys can educate me, but I just feel like if Gabe hated himself so much and talked about the invisible limb, talked about how he hated being female, how he didn't want to be on this earth female, how he hated all the things that if you hate is the word he used, not me, that the first thing you would change is the fact that, hey, my birth certificate says I was assigned X. And now that I've put all this work and all this money, because I don't think, from my understanding, that transitioning is an easy, simple process either, and it's not cheap. That same amount of energy and money that you put into transitioning would be the same amount of money that you put into the birth certificate to the gender that you said, Gabe, specifically, you hated. That's all I'm saying. So you got your driver's license and passport because it was more convenient. But if I'm thinking about how important this is and how important it is to understand for others around you, then to me, I would just think, and I might be wrong and I don't know, right? That's why I'm asking the question, not if it goes back to what you were assigned at birth and you fought so hard to get so far, that would be something that you would change. That's just my thought process.
I understand. Maybe he will. Well, let's hope that he actually gives Isabel a little bit more of an answer, because maybe he'll say Florida didn't even start allowing it until 4 years ago or something like that.
Vanessa says, I have to use it for background checks, sometimes for work. I lost mine at one point and I had to order it from the state. I found out my mom had changed my name at some point and I had to change all that. Oh, wow.
Wow.
All right, then.
So, Vanessa, my sister was born at a hospital that doesn't exist anymore because she was born in Homestead, which was an Air Force base in Miami. So when she ordered her birth certificate, it had the wrong name on it, but she couldn't do anything about it because the hospital doesn't exist anymore. So now she is Katrina for life.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had, and my Canadian friends will appreciate this. So I was born in North York, and when I first was doing all the immigration stuff to US, they put in New York because they had never heard of North York, and it was a whole problem because it was not New York. Then New York is not in Canada; it's North York, Ontario, and it was like a whole thing. And so, yeah, paying attention to the details is definitely important. But also, I find it interesting that I'll just say that. I'll just say that there are other places that sometimes people don't know about, and they're like, "Wait, New York? No, North York. You mean New York? No, I mean North York." Okay, so uh they want this wedding and they want the wedding to happen, but there are some documentation issues. So Isabel's really upset because she wanted to move forward with this wedding, and Gabe is realizing that he's going to have to go back to the US, uh, to quote, and I'm quoting myself, to get it together. Because not only am I interested about this whole birth certificate thing, but also your business. So you didn't bring like the stamp thing or your labels or branding. So like I'm just trying to figure out what you plan for your big move. So you brought all the luggage and you have an apartment. So clearly you do some type of planning and organization. But when it came to the main things, birth certificate and your company, you didn't. I'm sorry. Like for someone who's like pays attention to detail, that just seems ridiculous to me. And so I have questions, April.
I have questions too. Also, the thing about that, just going back to the birth certificate again, it would have been very easy for him on any of his trips in Colombia to just find out what documents do I need to get married so I can make sure to bring them with me.
I'm just saying, I mean, that would make sense. Plus your business. Like, hey, how do you not bring your
Yeah.
branding to your
And
business?
his family, he said his family doesn't know. We didn't get to that yet.
I love you too. Egg says that M or F, male or female, on the birth certificate is important to some trans people, but to others it doesn't matter or define them. Thank you for that. I appreciate the feedback. Sherry says, I had to have a certified copy of my birth certificate to transfer my driver's license to my current state. Soon it may be required to vote. Everyone should have at least one certified copy of theirs.
Mm.
And Vanessa says, oh, wow. So, yeah, you guys, I mean, I don't know. I feel like what the Americans are saying in the chat and what April is saying is that your birth certificate is not really a big deal in America. That's kind of what I'm getting from it. And for me, I'm saying, like, as an immigrant, the birth certificate is a big deal.
Once you have your documents, once you have your license and your passport, getting your birth certificate is not a big deal. But also, Sherry's making me realize something. Most Americans don't move either. So like you had to get that done because you moved to a different state. Most Americans don't move from where they're born.
Well, and I moved from a different country, right?
Yeah. So that's even another reason we wouldn't touch our birth certificate.
Yeah. So interesting. Okay, so Isabel is pissed, and she's pissed, but she forgives him and she accepts it and all the things. But in the meantime, she's like sad because she's like, how long is it going to be again? You just got here, and how long are you going to be in Miami? And she feels like, you should have had all that information done. This is not a vaccine, it's not a pill, it's not a surgery. This is like you moving in our life, starting together, all the things. And you already know where I stand. I kind of agree with her. Yeah. She's frustrated, she's mad. And she feels like everything is stopping in moving their relationship forward. They should be planning for a bigger house and a wedding, but she feels like Gabe is not taking it seriously. It's the day that Gabe is leaving for Miami. He's feeling defeated. He needs to go back to Florida to get this amended birth certificate. Doesn't know how long it's going to take him, but Isabel has forgiven him because she loves him. And one of the things we find out in this conversation is that, he spent all this time getting the blessings and all of that from Isabel's family, but he did not even tell his own family, who I thought was super weird, because you said you're like besties with your sister and you're besties with your mom. And so that whole thing was going down and you didn't even call your family to let them know. So the mom has no idea. And Gabe says, my mom's going to be sad and mad that she's the last to know that this happened. And rightfully so. You say you're like
Rightfully
so
so.
like I can't imagine. I'm very close with my mom. Like I could not imagine making life decisions and not letting her know and be like, oh, by the way, I got engaged. Yeah. I went over and I, got the blessing from the family. We did a whole thing. We went on a horseback ride, and we did some pottery. We did some painting. I talked to the kids.
And
Talked to the
all of
cousins.
it will be televised. And you knew nothing. If I was the mom, I'd be like, so I'm a joke to you?
Right. You say I'm a bestie. You say we're so close, and it was nothing but the three of us, and all of a sudden I'm an afterthought. No, thank you. So we don't know if it's going to be a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months. We don't know, but at the same time, Isabel's like, I don't want to be alone again, and which I thought was like, oh. And Gabe said, I know it's hard, but I'm here. I will always be here for you. Your kids are here. I'm here. And this is the last time. And I literally was like, oh, that is adorable. Because one of the things I do appreciate about those two is that they communicate.
Yes.
So, oh, wait, no, I've got two more. We're going to do Chris and Jamie next. Thoughts about them?
I just want to repeat my offer for Jamie. Whatever you want some city girls, I can find them. You want some Georgia girls, I got those for you. Whatever you want, Jamie, I can hook you up. Okay?
And my thought is this, Jamie, you knew she wasn't coming back. We all knew she wasn't coming back. This one-way ticket, you knew that if that wasn't a red flag, I don't know what else to tell you. Okay? And I already said this last week, and I'm going to continue to say it, but what you're not about to tell me, in all of Colombia, there's not one other person that has narcolepsy that has to take medication. Okay? And like I said last week, in this technology-driven world that we live in, that you have to go into your bank to deal with your banking information, like situation. Like, I just don't believe it.
Turns out the bank issue was that she didn't have any money.
I mean, not having money is one thing, but then say that.
Yeah.
Say, I ran out of money, so I have to go back. Say that, because that's more believable.
Yeah, she definitely was not truthful about that, but I think that is what really happened. And now she's mad that Jamie doesn't have a job when you told her she didn't have to work.
That part. So Chris is back in Alabama, and she calls Jamie, and she's been back for a long time, and she tells us that it was a bank issue and she needed her narcolepsy pills, and we just talked about that. Jamie, we find out, has COVID again. She's not feeling well. First time she had it, according to Chris, she almost died from complications. So Chris is kind of scared about her having it again. But then I was like, you can't be that scared, because you don't even really want to go back to Colombia, and you're having an attitude on the phone. So
you don't even talk to her.
Right. So Chris goes on to say that financially that they can't live in Colombia. So she's been back for 3 months. And the reason her being back is for medical issues and her running out of money. And so she's working and making money so that they can live in Colombia, which, I mean, you guys, come on. I mean, the way she's like, okay, so let me just say, listen, you're going to be working and working and working. What happened to like starting a business in Colombia, the food truck thing? Because now you're like power washing driveways, picking up odds and end jobs anywhere you can. And you're saying that you're sending all the money to Jamie. And I just feel like that's not sustainable. And then you're going to have an attitude about it, saying that Jamie's not working, but she's expecting you to send all the money. But then in that same breath, you told Jamie that she could not work and that you would take care of everything. So what is it?
Exactly.
And then you were there for like a month. So you're trying to tell me that the whole year plus that you were talking to Jamie and you're selling your house so you could have all this money and the $50,000 motorcycle that you were going to sell, all this money that you were going to come in and residual income and all of that stuff. All that stuff that you were saying obviously was not true because you could not even last 1 month there. And I would say that I also didn't even believe that you were moving because of the amount of stuff that you did not take with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, she feels like she has to stay in Alabama and has to work, and points out to us that Jamie's not working, so everything is on her. So her only option is working in Alabama, she says. That's her only option, she thinks. And so she is working and sending all the money to Jamie, and which is interesting to me because in that same breath, she also says that she's only talked to Jamie 3 times in 3 months. And this is the first time they're actually seeing each other on a video chat in those 3 months. And then the truth comes out because then she says, well, we're not talking, we're fighting. And why would I want to talk to you if all we do is fight?
Mm-hmm.
That is the first true statement of this whole segment. Okay. Then she goes on to say that she's taking yard work jobs and painting houses and pressure washing driveways and doesn't have a phone when she's working. Now, okay. I don't know you about April, but I've known many a contractor in my life. And as a contractor, as an entrepreneur, as an independent worker, what you're going to have is your phone. Because guess what? Your phone is your lifetime to other jobs.
Exactly.
So what you're not doing is doing yard work and friggin' cutting the lawn while someone else is seeing you across the street and calls the neighbor and says, hey, who's that cutting your lawn? Oh, here's Linda's number. Call her. She's right here right now. Oh, I don't have my phone. And they're looking at you and you don't have your phone. Like, just stop it. Can you just stop with the stupidity? Like, do you not think that the viewers think things through? Do you not think that the viewers have seen contractors, have seen people that take care, like, all the workers all the time? They have their phones all the time because guess what? You're not just working on one property. You're working on all the properties. All the properties that are in your business, they're all calling you all the time because that is your job. I don't have my phone when I'm working. Shut up.
Nobody believes that. And even if you don't have, let's say she didn't have her phone when she's working. I don't believe it, but let's say she didn't. That's still 3 months. It's still 3 months that have passed with no substantive conversation, according to Jamie, and I believe her. There were other times to talk.
So then Chris goes ahead and says that there's nothing ever enough for Jamie. And then says, you could, she says this to Jamie, you could find a job, start working, and then maybe we would have some stability.
Rude. Because you're the one who told her she had an opportunity to go back to work. You told her not to. Now she didn't have that same job anymore.
Jamie asked, do you love me? And Chris said she is not sure. She gave everything up to be with her. Again, I was like, when did you give up anything? Because you were there for less than 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly did you give up? And you fools decided to still go ahead and get married, even though you had known each other for less than 2 weeks, 9 days. You guys, both of you are to blame for that situation. Now here we are.
Yeah. And now we don't know how difficult it would be for Jamie to get a new job. I have a few clients who've come from Colombia recently who are Venezuelan. She's Venezuelan, and said that it's getting more difficult for Venezuelans to get permission to work there. Their new government is more restrictive. So we don't know how difficult it would be for her to get a new job.
There you go. There you go. What you shouldn't be doing is blaming her for something you told her that she could do.
Mm-hmm. Team Jamie.
Team Jamie. And like Jamie said, what you could do instead of ignoring me and not calling me is we could find solutions together. But Chris doesn't want to come back. That's what it is. She doesn't want to go back to Colombia. She wants to live her life the way she's been living it. And if the internets are true, then you all know what that also includes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to say one thing real quick too. Back to Gabe and Isabel. One of the things that Gabe said that I thought was really weird too is that he said that he sent all his paperwork to the government and the government never gave it back to him. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, that was really weird for me. I don't know what he meant. Because when you send off to get your passport, you do have to send your birth certificate with the application, but they send it back to you.
They 100% it back. Listen, I've had to send my passport and my birth certificate all the way to Ottawa, the originals, in order to get a new passport, and they send it right back to you. And if they didn't send it back to me, then that would all be traced because they're in the business of doing that. Kathy, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Y'all should start a petition. Linda, I really wish you were the one to host the tell-all so you could ask all these questions. Girl, you know I have all the questions and I would be excellent at it. Thank you.
Yes,
Kathy.
you would. You would be great at it.
Last and certainly not least, because they were the most entertaining to me this episode, was Danielle and Johan. Thoughts on this segment?
Oh. They had the most regrettable argument.
Why was it regrettable?
Because all Johan had to say was yes and thanks to my wife. It was such a ridiculous argument.
I've heard a lot of things. I've heard both things. I've heard both sides, but I will say this. Johan, you were absolutely 100% in the wrong. And I get you guys, you know, you guys are coming for Danielle. You want her to be the villain. We've talked about it, and I just don't see it. And, you know, we all say things in anger and all the things, but Johan was wrong here. And his logic and reasoning was wrong. And it was embarrassing for her because she just moved her entire life to be with her husband, put all, like he said, put all his family together for the first time in his life to celebrate his birthday. He thanks everyone from the top to the bottom, and his wife is sitting right there, who planned this whole thing, got everything together and all the family together, and guaranteed she's the one that's paying for it, and you don't thank her. And then you have the audacity to get the cake that she made a big deal about, that she brought her American entitlement to the Dominican Republic and still made it work, and y'all are still celebrating with that same cake that you wouldn't have had if she hadn't done all that. Stop it.
And yeah, their little segment went from like 10 to 0 so rapidly. I was like, oh, he's so cute, participating in her coconut kicking, cleansing house thing, and then boom, straight to 0. I feel really bad for her in this moment because that's embarrassing. How do you come back from that?
All right, so here's a quick breakdown. So they've been fighting, which is true, since she got off the plane. Danielle feels like he's a lot more angry than she's ever seen him, and it's his birthday coming up. So she's decided that she's going to do a coconut ritual. Baba, her spiritual advisor, told her about it, and it's coconut covered with ground up eggshells. And she's kicking it around the apartment, and apparently the eggshells have some type of cleansing substance, and it's supposed to, you're supposed to like kick it around the apartment to create a peaceful environment, living space. And as you kick it around the apartment, it like takes out all the negative energy. And then you go outside, you like smash the coconut, and that smashes the negative energy, and then you're gonna have peace in your house. And Johan is like, what are you doing, when he sees her doing that? And at first he's like, I see my wife kicking a coconut, and all I think is my wife has gone crazy. But then, this is a redeeming quality. He helps her. And she's skeptical and says, well, why are you doing this if you don't even believe in it? And he says, I support your religion and I accept you.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was really important, because this is a redeeming quality. Because as we get through the next part of the episode, I'm like, Johan, what happened to the sensible Johan that we just saw, who's like so open-minded and telling his wife all the things about accepting her for who she is and her beliefs?
Turns out he just wanted to kick the coconut.
He just wanted to kick the coconut. And then he was hilarious because he's like, Lord, I ask you that Danielle is not so stubborn, and Lord, make it so that she doesn't fight so much. Amen. Amen. Oh my God, super funny. They kiss, they make up. She says, happy birthday. She's throwing him a surprise birthday party with his family. She goes to the bakery, and this is where, she, like I said, brought in her American sensibilities. And so she needs a cake. Now, I don't understand. So here's the thing. Okay. Here is the thing, folks. That entitlement part, I just will never understand, because just like how, hey, you want to go to this restaurant and the restaurant is fully booked because other people who wanted to go to the restaurant decided to make plans and they called in advance and got reservations. Now, your entitlement makes you feel like you can just walk in and get a table and you don't want to wait 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes because that's inconvenient to you. I'm just curious. You knew your husband's birthday was coming up for like at least a year, right? Because y'all, how long have y'all been together? And you decided last minute that you were going to throw a birthday party. That's great. Surprise birthday. But you had enough time to call all those family members because, like you said, there were 21 people there. But you didn't have time to call a bakery and be like, hey, let me get this cake. Danielle, do better. Because when you went in there with all the attitude and he was like, well, the bakers went home for the day. I can do it myself. Okay, but let's go ahead and continue to use that American mentality and entitlement, right? So, Danielle, you wouldn't want any random person from the street going into any bakery in New York City with their grubby hands after we just went through a 3-year pandemic and say, hey, don't worry, you bring me the stuff from the back and I'll do it myself. Because that's A, not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
B, it's not sanitary. C, this fool can lose his job because you don't work here. If you cut yourself with whatever, that's on him. If you put together some of the icing and the icing maybe wasn't fully cooked and then there's some type of like bacteria in it, then that's on him. All the things I could go on because you actually don't work there. But you're going to have the attitude, Danielle, and I love you to death, but you're going to have the attitude and say, hey, well, I'll do it myself. Well, then here's what I would have said. Go ahead and just bake the whole cake from scratch by yourself in your apartment. That is a beautiful apartment. And then go ahead and get the icing, put the icing on the cake and do it all yourself. Boom, problem solved. But to have an attitude for the guy who just is working and doing his job and telling you that the bakers are done for the day, and you say you want to do it yourself and you laugh and you're going to get your way and quote, you always are going to get what you want. Fair enough. But have a little sympathy for the worker, because guess what? They're just the workers. Just like I'm going to say, have a little sympathy for the bartender, the server, the bar back, the food runner. They're just doing their job. So you want to have a special experience. My advice to you, all of y'all, okay, plan ahead. Plan ahead, call ahead. And then if they mess up after you've planned ahead and called ahead, then that's something to have an attitude about. But what you shouldn't be doing is walking in, storming in, acting like everything has to drop because you are on a timeline.
I agree. But I was also very American in this moment.
How so?
Because it was well into the scene before I thought to myself, wait a minute, maybe she's wrong. Like, well,
then you were having an American
in
moment.
the beginning, I was like, well, they're clearly open. Why can't they just write on the cake?
Oh no, see?
It was well into the scene when he said, by the time he said that they're gone for the day, I was like, oh, maybe she's wrong. I don't think I would have gone so far as to say, give me the stuff, I'll write it. I would have probably just asked, can I buy one of your, which would also be like superimposing, but I probably would have asked if I could buy
glad
it.
that you thought that through. I'm so glad that you thought that through before it came out of your mouth. Because I was like, oh, April. Because I was like, I'm learning all the things from April, but then I was like, oh, that
there have been several times in my life where I catch myself being very American and I make a choice. Do I want to continue down this road that I'm on?
Yeah,
or
I
do I
saw it.
want to
I
pull
just
back?
saw it in real time. Did y'all see it in real time where she pulled it back? She literally pulled it back before the words flew out of her mouth because they sounded ridiculous.
But I mean, and there's some times where it has served me well. Like I've gotten taxis before in other countries and get into a back and forth with them not telling me how much it's going to cost, but they want me to go ahead and like get in, close the door. And there have been times where I'm like, absolutely not, I'm getting out. And it's served me well in some situations.
I
But
feel like that's a different experience though.
yeah,
Right?
but
Because I
in
think that there is obviously strength, and especially when you're traveling, to have an understanding that you are not in your home country and things may be different. And so to have that self-awareness and assurance in yourself, I think is important. What I am talking about, and I know you know because that's why she's already laughing, y'all. What I'm talking about is the other part. The other part of y'all, love you Americans, love y'all, love your country, all is great. But there are some things that we can all improve on. One of the things is your travel etiquette and expecting that everything should be exactly like America. Like, hey, where's the McDonald's? Where's the Walmart? Where's the Target? Oh my God, the food's totally different. Oh my God, they're honking their horns in India. Oh my God, there's a cow in India. Oh my God, I can't believe that it's so loud here. It's just so different. Yeah, because fool, you're halfway across the world. Embrace it. Enjoy it. All right.
yeah.
Rant done. I thought it was also funny that Danielle's like, what would be your perfect dream birthday? And he's like, yeah, I want to climb Mount Everest. It's like, that's not happening today, friend.
I thought it was really funny that he said that because number one, where did it come from? And then number two, like I've been obsessed with Mount Everest for a while now because it was mentioned in the last Girl with the Dragon Tattoo books. And I feel like it keeps coming back into my life in like different ways. Maybe it's a sign that I need to not to climb it, just to look at it. Maybe it's a sign that I need to go to Nepal. Oh, and she was very wrong when she said that like only 10 people have ever topped it. There a lot of people have topped it. Most people who've actually died on that mountain have died on their way back down. They summited and then plummeted.
Yeah. Yeah. So they get to his party. He's surprised. All his family's there. It's a great surprise, he says. He thanks, like I said, everyone. The dog, the servers, the children, all his family. Thank you so much for all of you being here for the first time ever, all together celebrating me. And the family member said, oh, you didn't thank your wife for the surprise. And that upset Danielle. She gets up from the table and walks out and says, there are 21 people here. You embarrassed me. You humiliated me. You have no gratitude. And then Johan had the audacity, in my opinion, yes, I said that word, to say that you ruined my birthday the day before. And how did you ruin my birthday? It's because you wanted to meet up with your friend who's your ex. He's still upset about it. And who wants to see their ex the day before their husband's birthday? And you ruined my birthday, and I'm still mad. And I don't care if you planned all of this and put all the money into it, and invited all my family and all my friends, and I'm celebrating. You ruined it, and I'm mad at you. Listen, y'all. The non-Christian of myself is going to say this, and I'm going to say it loud and clear. Okay. What you're not about to do, motherfucker, is disrespect me. After I paid for all of this and brought all your family together and clearly have come here to celebrate you. What you're not about to do is disrespect me. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and eat up on that cake and celebrate the cake. C, have an attitude with me like I'm the one that did something in the wrong, when, if we rewind, I'm the one that came to you and said, this is exactly what happened. This person jumped in my DMs. I told them from the jump that I'm married. Let me talk to my husband, and then my husband and I will go to lunch with you. Very clear and concise and specific. And then, because you had a problem with it and you were also drinking, and I also stopped you from drinking and driving and saved you from another ticket and or accident, went ahead and planned this birthday party for you to celebrate you and to tell you how much I love you. Now you're going to turn around and tell me that I ruined your birthday the day before. Then if I ruined your birthday the day before, what you shouldn't be doing is here celebrating with the cake that I bought and all the food that I catered and all the family I brought together. Go ahead and pay for it yourself and goodbye for now.
Exactly. And I hope that she did leave without paying.
Like Vanessa said, she must have prepaid that dinner. Not impressed, Johan, because you came in with the I accept you for who you are and your beliefs and all of that, and then you want to turn around and make it about her?
It got so bad so fast. And then I can't believe he went back to the party.
April, he went back to the party and they brought the cake out that she had the American entitlement audacity to do, and they put a big sparkle candle and celebrated it. And I saw him. He had a moment like, I messed up for this, because he looked back. Did you see that part where he looked
I didn't
back?
see. He looked back like she was going to come.
Yeah, look back like, is she looming around somewhere? I have a few regrets because I know I didn't buy this cake, and I know my family didn't buy this cake.
This is what can he do to make this up to her? What can he do?
That's a good question. What can he do? Because he messed up. This is big. How do you bring that back? So if someone was, what would someone have to do for you, April?
I've never been embarrassed on. Oh shoot, I have been embarrassed on my birthday one time. Yep. We went to the ballet at the Kennedy Center, and the guy that I was dating at the time made a spectacle on my birthday, and I just broke up with him. Never talked to him again.
Yeah, I've been embarrassed one time on my birthday, and we didn't talk for years because, like my mom says that my brothers and I have one common trait with our dad, is that we are all stubborn like him. I tried to explain to her that I use it for good. But yeah, we didn't talk for many years. Many years.
Yeah, she's a forgiving person.
Yeah.
And she wants her marriage to work really bad. So I think there is going to be a way that he can make this better, but I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either. So we'll have to wait till next week to find out what he does and what she forgives him for. But Johan, you're picking the little flowers that you pick. I just don't feel like that's going to be enough for this.
Not going to work. Johan, you're going to have to apologize to the entire 90-day community for this.
Big time. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We're trying to grow our pages over here at the Melanated Way, as well as April Holiday, who is live streaming on her page. Go ahead and check it out. She does all the immigration stuff. You got K-1 visa issues, questions, concerns. They are casting for the new season of 90 Day Fiancé the other way. Do not hit me up directly. You can look it up, and if you must message me, then you can message me and I will send you the information. But yeah, definitely go over to April's page and like and subscribe. She also does a lot of travel stuff. She travels all over the place, gives you tips for good travel, cheap travel, fun travel, all the things. So go ahead and check that out. And what else do I want to say? I'll see you guys. I know you guys have a lot of catching up to do, and bear with me. But like I said at the top of the show, there's some life stuff that's happened, and I've had to deal with it, and I've had to just take a moment and focus on me. So I'm back, and I'm going to do my very best to catch up on all things. See you guys soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.